Hello, and welcome to Homies at Night, where your news comes first. I'm your host, Elliot Pierpont.
And I'm your other equally important host, Sam Mulmeyer.
Tonight we have some riveting top stories for you, starting with an up-and-coming pop culture influencer and rap connoisseur, Chalice Kuya, who's going to take us on an adventure of his young life and what rap means to him.
And after that, we will be talking about the history of cricket with a young and budding professional cricket player, Jaden Knight, of the Trinbago Night Riders, that is.
And our third and final special features an equally, if not more, budding character who considers the festival to be a considerable part of his life, and he's going to take us through what that means to him. But more after these messages.
A word from our sponsor, El Dorado Rum.
El Dorado's unique flavor and taste is much due to the tropical climate of this lush country, Guyana. Its beautifully rounded palate is complex with spicy dried fruit and interweaving layers of honey, gingerbread, and toasty oak. 750 milliliters is going to set you back $441.
Trinidad and Tobago dollars, that is.
Not quite as expensive as you thought. Now, Sam and I are going to provide some context for our upcoming music guest, Chalice Kuya, by stating some facts about the history of different types of music in the Caribbean. Sam will be talking about reggae, and I'll be talking about calypso. Calypso originated in Trinidad in the 20th century when slaves used it as a means of a communication. They were able to really form these communities within themselves through this music and through the songs that they made. As the genre progressed, Calypsonians were able to express more about the island and less about themselves through the music, and news was spread through the music. I must say, one of my favorite songs is a Calypso song, one of the first, by Harry Belafonte, 1956. Banana Boat song. I've always loved this song. I love it. I just love it. Anyway.
It really is a great song.
Since then, Calypso stations are set up at every Carnival because all the tourists, now a very commercialized idea, really enjoy the music. And one of the biggest competitions, the Calypso Monarch, is held in Trinidad, I think. And they're able to practice for this big competition through the Carnival, where walking away with the trophy is highly coveted. All in all, Calypso has had massive influences on current artists, and as we'll soon learn with Chalice.
In addition to his Calypso influences, Chalice Kuya was also influenced by reggae, one of the Caribbean's most popular music genres, which originated in Jamaica in the 1960s. The genre originally combined a myriad of music styles, including traditional mento music, ska, and rocksteady. Most Westerners have preconceived notions that reggae is the music of those Rastafari, ganja weed smokers. However, the genre has actually embedded political commentary of the stripes of Jamaican life. Combining this with catchy rhythms primarily made as a combination of guitar and bass. Elliot, what is your favorite reggae song?
Buffalo Soldier.
No way, mine too. All right, and now to Anderson Cooper with the latest on Chalice Kuya.
Circling back to the Calypso Monarch in Trinidad, not in Trinidad idea, we had our interns do some quick research here, and they got some good information to clarify. It is in Trinidad. The competition is actually limited to Trinidad and Tobago Nationals at the moment. It's a massive competition with one of the most prevalent teams called Chalk Dust winning 9 times. Through its growth as a competition, Calypso Monarch was a male-dominated sport, but the first female won in 1978 by Calypso Rose. From there on out, the title, Calypso Monarch, remains gender neutral.
Anderson Cooper here, live with Chalice Kuya, a budding young rap artist from Trinidad and Tobago. Chalice, can I call you Chalice?
Oh, sure.
How are you today?
Mr. Cooper. Big fan of the show. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. So, you're from Trinidad and Tobago. How does the country influence your music?
Well, I guess the country, you could say, rhythm is extremely important in my music, and that really stems from Trinidad. I use strictly steel pan drums for my music.
Very interesting. Sorry to put kind of a damper on this interview, but some of your recent music videos have drawn criticism due to their inclusion of scantily clad women. Care to comment?
Chalice declines to comment on this.
Chalice, Caribbean dancehall music is kind of a foreign concept to me, and I'd love the opportunity for you to take me through some of the classic moves of the genre.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Just get that here and just. All right.
So just before we start, I think I'd like to kind of walk through some of the dance moves that are currently in my repertoire.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So it's just kind of sort of like this,
Oh.
and like you can kind of clap.
You gotta get the hips into it. You
So
gotta
show me kind of like what would
there.
be more
You know,
of a Kingston or a
Sean Kingston?
Port of Spain vibe. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah. So you got hips and then you go. Get
then I
those
get-
shoulders. Yeah.
So then I just kind of
Get behind me. Yeah. Get behind me.
I'm really intrigued by the multicultural background of Trinidad. Some have defined it as kind of a euphoric fellow feeling, some might say, and I'd love for you to kind of talk about the cultural confluence, some might say, of Trinidad.
The stem of this term euphoric fellow feeling really comes from the slaves that would resist against the slave owners and sing in unison to get this quote unquote euphoric fellow feeling. I use it in my music. I try to implement it in my music. Check out my SoundCloud. 5 songs so far, 3 million hits is why I'm on the show.
That's fantastic. So how did you come up with the name Chalice Kuya?
Oh, that's a great question. The internet, I actually put it in a reggae name generator.
Of course.
Yeah, so.
Musicians, for the most part, a lot of times act as representatives for Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
How do you feel that responsibility relates to you, and what are your thoughts on how it affects like understandings of Caribbean cultural globally?
Well, I think any artist in today's world, especially Caribbean artists, we give us an identity, a Caribbean identity that seems to be long lost in today's world. And the music that we have, it's a strong remembrance of the past that we once suffered. Take Rihanna, for example. She's a great influencer. She really spreads the culture and the identity that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think she's a strong advocate for the cultural distinctness of the Caribbean, and I think she really does a fantastic job in her role as an ambassador to Barbados and to the rest of the world.
I agree fully.
Critics of your work argue that modern dancehall musicians are really kind of disregarding the calypso past of Caribbean music. How do you feel that you affect this dynamic, and do you feel like it's a positive or a negative?
Well, I think it's kind of a positive. I don't think in a way they're disregarding the past, but it's in a kind of a new twist in a millennial light. Especially nowadays, everyone has a new take on certain things.
Right. I mean, I think my understanding of it as well is that dancehall music is kind of more of an upbeat rhythm. It's more attractive to younger crowds, and I think that's definitely has affected the dynamic between the old and the new.
You know, I don't think it's necessarily a question of old and new, but getting the Caribbean identity out there is really a more important thing.
So, Chalice, tell us about Trinidad and Tobago's relationship with the steel pan.
Oh, I'd love to. To give you some background on my music, the making of a steel pan is actually a fine art that requires time, patience, and money. A decent mid-range steel pan can go for upwards of $600. I only work with high-quality material in my music, and also the beauty of the steel band music parallels to the frightening levels of violence in Trinidad. For many, it serves as a kind of bittersweet reflection. It's a place where some have some unremitting hardship and brutality. So I'm getting a little emotional talking about it.
Well, I was happy to have you on, and I really appreciate your eloquence throughout this article.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, Anderson. It was great to hear about Chalice and his upbringing. Sam, what was your favorite part about Chalice?
Chalice?
Chalice.
I really loved I really loved how well spoken he was about the Caribbean identity.
And his
That was my favorite
upbringing.
part.
He's very passionate about his music. Very fascinating stuff. Anyway, moving on to our second part, we're going to be talking about sports in the Caribbean. Firstly, football, and for our American viewers, soccer. It's extremely popular. You might not think it is. Cricket is known to be extremely popular and well known in the Caribbean, but football is in fact very popular itself. Nearly every Caribbean island has been registered by FIFA, which is the International World FIFA Federation. Popular. Naturally, of course. Some popular teams in the Caribbean. Jamaica's Reggae Boys, that's boys B-O-Y-Z, Jamaica's Reggae Boys, fought for a qualifying spot in the 1998 World Cup. Afterwards, many players from Jamaica's Reggae Boys were offered extensive contracts for major European clubs. Trinidad and Tobago's Soca Warriors showed great promise when they qualified to compete in the 2008 games in Germany. Thanks to teams like these, like Jamaica's Reggae Boys and Trinidad and Tobago's Soca Warriors, football continues to grow in the Caribbean and they continue to make their mark on the rest of the world.
Turn it over to our sports correspondent, Sean Paul Kingston, who's going to give some much needed context in our upcoming guest.
So originally, cricket was brought over to the West Indies by the British military. Originally, it was also a game played strictly by whites, but starting in the 20th century, it started being played by all native peoples. And today, it has really taken off in all British colonies. And now over to our interview. And welcome to Dahomies at Night Sports Edition. I am Sean Paul Kingston, the local sports reporter. I'm here tonight with a local celebrity, Jaden Knight. He's a famous cricket player. He plays for the Trinbago Knight Riders, who, contrary to popular belief, are actually good at night and day. So, Jaden, I think your reputation kind of precedes yourself, but for our viewers that don't really watch cricket, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm here to have a good time. Well, I'm from the Trelawney Parish in Jamaica. I grew up playing cricket with my 3 brothers and father. I grew up in a pretty rural neighborhood, and there was pretty much nothing to do besides just play cricket or soccer, and neither of my brothers were pretty fast, so cricket it was.
Sure. So I think you touched on it a little bit, but I know cricket's one of the famous games to the West Indies, has a long history there. So what led you to play cricket?
Well, in Jamaica, cricket's definitely one of the more popular sports in the country. My father is also a big cricket fan. We show a lot of support to the Jamaican national team and the West Indies team, so it was pretty much destined at birth that I would be playing cricket. One of my mentors, Chris Gale, I think he's the greatest batsman to ever play the game of cricket and the greatest batsman to ever come out of Jamaica. So he was just a huge inspiration. He had 10,000 runs in the 2020 tournament, which is unheard of. No one has come close to that. He also had 515 60s. Like, come on now, who's putting up those numbers? If I could put up those numbers, I'd be a lot bigger of a celebrity than I am right now.
Sure. So I know you are now playing with the Trinbago Knight Riders. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about what it's like playing for them under the big lights down here in the new Caribbean Premier League.
Yeah. So, like you just said, the Trinbago Knight Riders are a relatively new team. The Caribbean Premier League itself is a new league. It was started in 2013, and it was a blast winning the Caribbean Premier League Championship in 2015. Chris Gale actually played for the Kolkata Knight Riders. They're the Indian Premier League team and our father team. So him being my mentor and me having the success that I've had early on with the Trinbago Knight Riders it's unheard of, surreal. I couldn't ask for anything more.
So, Jaden, you've been compared to the LeBron James of the cricket circuit with all the early success you've had. So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about your early career, both with the Jamaican national team and with the West Indies team.
I mean, yeah, that's a very good question, actually. Well, being called up to both teams is something that I look forward to since I was a young boy, and something that my father is definitely very proud of. My brothers as well. But I guess I'll speak a little bit about the West Indies cricket team. So also known as the Windies. Come on now, all we do is win. The West Indies cricket team represents the Anglo region of the Caribbean, and in doing so, players are called up from 15 different territories in the Caribbean, and the team is very successful. Like, what more do I have to say? It's something.
Oh.
Okay, well, so Jaden has left us. I think he had to negotiate that new contract deal, which is going to be for a lot of money. Hopefully we hear back from him soon. In the meantime, I just wanted to let you guys know that this upcoming Saturday, the Trinbago Knight Riders will be taking on the Barbados Tridents at 8 p.m. on the Caribbean News Network. Catch it here. I'll be commentating. Thank you.
A few moments later.
So I hear now that we have Jaden back via Skype. Jaden, how are you? It's good to have you back.
Hi guys, sorry about leaving in the middle of the interview last time. I had a family emergency and I had to get back over here. So I think the question was last time my role with the Jamaican national team and West Indies team. But I think first we have to learn about the cricket game structure in order to really appreciate what's going on in both those organizations. So Test cricket is a game that spans over 2 innings. This means that one team needs to bowl the other team out twice and score more runs than them to win the match. Another key difference between Test cricket and other forms of cricket is the length of the innings. In Test cricket, there is no limit to the innings length, whereas in one-day cricket and 2020 cricket, there are a certain amount of overs per inning. The only limits in Test cricket is the 5-day length.
So Jaden, tell us a little bit about the rules of cricket.
Before the game begins, an official will toss a coin. The captain who guesses the correct side of the coin would then choose if they want to bat first or field first. One team will then bat while the other team bowls and fields. The aim of batting team is to score runs, obviously, you want to score. While the aim of the fielding team is to bowl 10 people out and close the batting team's innings. Although there are 11 people in each team, only 10 men need to be bowled out, as you cannot have one person batting alone. Batting is done in pairs. Can't do it alone. Once the first team has been bowled out, the second team would then go into bat. Once the second team is then bowled out, it would normally return to the first team again. So kind of like how baseball works in America. So just skipping on all the rules, the follow-on is when the first team makes at least 200 runs. And once the first team has been bowled out, the second team would then go into bat. And then once the second team is bowled out, it would normally go to the first team bat. And again, very similar to American baseball. However, there's an exception to this in the cricket rules. It's called the follow-on. The follow-on is when the first team makes at least 200 runs more than the second team in the 5-day test match. This then gives the first team the option to make the second team bat again. This is particularly useful in the game if the game is progressing slowly or affected by bad weather, and there might not be enough time for both teams to play full innings.
Now we will meander over to the third and final feature of our show. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Michi Jackson, who's an avid festival goer, and we're going to learn more about what it means to him. Michi, it's great to meet you, man.
Hey, well, go on, man. Call me Smoochie, though.
Smoochie? Well, dude, it's good to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks, man.
So, how many years have you been attending Carnival here in Trinidad?
You know, I think about it, probably about 20 now, yeah.
20 years.
Long time.
That's a long time. Ever get old?
No, never, man.
Oh my gosh. What do you think your favorite part is? After all these years, I have to imagine you have one.
You know, I think about it, I think it's calypso competition, you know. They get they play some good music, you know, you get the euphoric fellow feeling, everybody's feeling nice.
Ton of rhythm, I feel like.
Yeah, a lot of rhythm, you know. Don't matter where you're from, you know, you get the rhythm and everybody's dancing, bring everybody together.
So, after all these years, what does Carnival mean to you? You know, there's so much history behind it. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, for me, I think it's a little bit of time in the year, where you can really let loose and come together as an island nation. We got more people coming from all over the world too, and I think it's just good to come together, have a good time, lime around a little bit. You get the work day off, and it's a good time.
It's managed with rum and cokes.
Lots of rum and cokes, man. Get you feeling nice.
So I gotta ask, after all these years you've been going, you said 20 years, how has Carnival changed? Has it evolved? Has it gotten better or worse? What do you think?
I think with all things, they change with the times, but I think Carnival has become a little bit more commercialized. We kind of try to cater to the international population that come now. They know it's a good time, so we try to make sure they have a good time. But I think Carnival is still very much a Trinidadian thing, and it's got a long history, and it's going to be here to stay.
So different, but not worse.
Right, man.
I understand. Well, Smoochie, it's great to meet you. Thanks for coming on to the show
Yeah,
today.
thanks, man.
Hey, take care.
Good to be here.
Thank you to all for tuning into the Homies at Night.
We hope you enjoyed those 3 very unique perspectives on our topics.
Tune in next week for an equally riveting show. Thank you and good night.